A report yesterday from CNBC revealing the existence of a secretive tech firm founded by Mike Bloomberg to aid his presidential run. The firm, called Hawkfish, will be the, quote, primary digital agency and technology service provider for the Bloomberg campaign, according to a spokesman. Joining us right now to talk about that and some other big issues in tech land right now. Charles Duhigg is here, contributor at The New Yorker, Ed Lee, reporter from The New York Times, and CNBC contributor as well. What do we know about this agency and what they're doing? Do you know?
Well, he's hiring.
You're a former Bloomberg man, we should say.
I am a former Bloomberg man, so I
Full
know.
disclosure. What do you know? Tell us.
Well, I don't have any ties to the company anymore, so, but it's.
What do you know?
Well, I don't know more specifically about this firm, but he's always been good at figuring out ways to, you know what, I need to get the talent in, bring them in, and then we'll solve whatever the problem is. You call it, give it a name, or you give it some kind of a corporation. I mean, ultimately,
he built a data company.
Right.
He built the most profitable data company in the world, and so it's a natural fit.
Maybe the most profitable company in the world.
That's absolutely, and he did it himself. He didn't buy other companies. He did exactly what he's doing here.
Right.
The most important thing.
He had guys like Ed and myself, who I was there 13.
I was there
13. I worked for him for 13 years.
But you didn't build the data.
The most important thing that we know is that I called a contact of mine at the RNC who oversees digital, and he said this is the first time that they've actually been worried. Right? This is the first time that someone's come in who has the agility and the ability and the money to build a data operation that can challenge what the RNC used to get Trump elected 4 years ago.
Right.
And it has them terrified. A little bit terrified. Not too terrified. But enough terrified that they're paying attention.
Isn't this an arms race always? Like, what we saw the RNC do after Barack Obama's win was say, oh, you know what, we lost that arms race, now we need to, and so now Bloomberg.
It's a very specific kind of arms race, though, because if you'll think back to when Trump was elected in 2016, the biggest issue there was that within the Clinton campaign, you had to get 3 people to sign off on an ad. And so as a result, they could run 10 to 15 experiments a day online. The Trump folks, because Trump wasn't paying any attention to what was going on, they ran 400 to 500 experiments an hour. And so for the first time, you have someone who has the ability to go out and do that experimentation. It's an arms race, but it's an experimenting
You're saying that
arms
the
race.
advantage here is less bureaucracy.
Not only less bureaucracy, but an attitude, right? Everyone who's in the primaries right now for the Dems, they're in a ground war to pick up primary voters. They're not thinking about digital, and they're not thinking about the general.
But how far ahead is Trump in terms of his digital ground game, if that's what it's called, given that you have to build database? I mean, it's not just the advertising itself, it's the database, right?
Absolutely. That database is critical, and the only way you get it is by running all these experiments, by going out and vacuuming up all the data that you can't buy from data brokers. He has a huge advantage because, first of all, they did this 4 years ago, and second of all, they've spent the last 3 years. The White House might be a mess. The RNC is not, because he has nothing to do with it. Did you feel that was an
underreported
story in the last election, the sophistication of the digital campaign? I think it's always an underreported story because we don't know until afterwards what people are doing and what works and what doesn't work.
Also, it keeps changing, right? What works on Facebook versus Twitter versus Open Google. And I think getting all those experiments in is what's helping do that. Trump has been the most successful on Facebook as a politician in terms of reaching the audience or finding the new audience, the new voters that haven't voted before. And I think that's what drove a lot of it.
This is a longer conversation, and we're out of time. Do you think there's a chance, though, that all this digital spending can actually work?
Absolutely. Now, what we don't know, we do know the digital spending can win a general election. We don't know if it can win a primary. Right. And for the first time, because Super Tuesday is 1/3 of the American voters are going to be voting on Super Tuesday, Bloomberg could prove something.